What is the number one constraint to scaling? Let me come to that in a moment. But first of all, welcome from the beautiful campus of the Reardon Clinic here in Wichita, Kansas, where the focus is on real health, which really points to what is that number one constraint, and that is our own energy. It's our own health. In fact, we've often maintained that the acronym CEO stands for Chief Energy Officer. And as we've said before, words cast spells. Just saying the wrong thing to the wrong person at the wrong time can kill the energy within the organization. In turn, if you've got that right big, hairy, audacious goal and purpose and the things that up everybody's excitement, engagement, and energy, that is a huge competitive, really advantage over the competition. But it starts with our own physical health. The question is, do you have all the energy and the energy reserves you need to bring to the office? Because look, you set the stage. And that's why your physical health is so critical. And that's why 40 years ago, as I was beginning to build the Association of Collegiate Entrepreneurs and the Entrepreneurs Organization, I was traveling all over the world, took the first official delegation of young entrepreneurs to mainland China, and it was killing me. I actually came down with asthma in my 20s, and I went to the traditional doc, and they're like, hey, you are allergic to everything, and look, you're gonna have to get a shot every week, and here's one of those nebulizers for you to breathe. And I'm like, is this really how I'm going to experience life over the next 40 to 80 years? And that's when I was introduced to Dr. Hugh Reardon. The clinic had already been here for 10 years, a mentor of mine, Willard Garvey. And he said, go out there and see Hugh. And first of all, they asked me more questions than any doctor had ever asked me by a factor of 20. And being an engineer, I could tell that, you know what? I could see where knowing the answers to these questions would be important to know. They then took more blood and hair samples and urine and everything else and ran roughly 40x the number of tests that you would get at a Mayo or a Cleveland and RD Anderson in order to figure out what was the root cause of why I developed this disease called asthma. Well, they found it wasn't 2 or 20, it was 5 things. I don't chelate magnesium well. There were a couple of foods that were particularly attacking my immune system. In fact, what we've discovered is that at the root of almost all disease is an autoimmune function. And so what we do is really 3 things. We figure out what is causing your own natural immune system to be compromised, and we remove those. We then figure out what is it lacking, and so we add that back in. And then we do a few things, which is why I was here this week, in order to boost your natural immune system so that you can deal with all of the stresses and natural things that we face as part of life. And before I became chairman of the board, I brought on Keith Loffman. And Keith was the president of Mayo Clinic's labs for 15 years. He then became the consultant at Cleveland and RD Anderson and the rest. And I said, look, Keith, before I lend my name here to the Reardon Clinic, I need to know, do we really have something? Are we as good as I think we are? And he took a year because I was looking at opening 100 Reardon clinics. And he came back with really 3 conclusions to the board. First, number 1, you do have one of the finest labs in the world. Look, for you to have better health, you need better data, more important than ever here with AI. Number 2, he said, more importantly, you measure, again, 40x what we did at Mayo or Cleveland or RD Anderson. Their labs are just to confirm a diagnosis that kicks in kind of a traditional protocol that's really not designed to cure you, but they're just to mask what are the symptoms. Here at the Reardon, we want to find out what was the root cause of this disease that you've got. And that's what they found. I was able to get those corrected. And that's what we've been doing now for 50 years. And so you don't have all the energy that you need to bring, to this venture that you've got. Let us see if we can help keep scaling.